Hey, what's going on? It is 7:51 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time here in Berkeley, California on Monday, May 10th, 2021. You can see the lovely Campanile again, this time with some daylight behind me. Welcome to Eric on the World. I am your host, Eric. I got some big news, guys. I ended up beating my jump rope world record this past week. 1,607 jumps, that's right. Not intended to. It was only my second time jumping rope since I left Berlin in mid-January. And, I always count so that I do like 100 straight, and then I switch to some more complex things that I know will mess me up. But for whatever reason, I just kept going with the straight ones for the most part and counting. And next thing I knew, I was at 1,607. So I could not walk right for the next 4 days because my calves were so messed up. But it looks like that's definitely something that's been built into my muscle memory. So 1,607. The world is opening up. People are becoming busy. They're not just sitting home at night opening their refrigerator door every 10 minutes in between refreshing their Netflix page, waiting to be asked to be a guest on a podcast. So people are busy. I'm getting busy. This time difference with school is absolutely killing me. I did my first open mic indoors in San Francisco, and I absolutely ate shit. There were just, it's one of those things, as soon as you walk in, you know that it's not going to go well. Just the venue doesn't serve liquor already. That's a problem. And it's a little cafe. It's like it was very San Francisco. It looked like a garage sale meets like a little hippie commune that sells hummus tubs, And so there's just 4 people in the back, all of them comics. They got excited when I walked in, like hoping that I was not a comic, but I had to let them down and let them know that I was indeed. So yeah, ate shit, did some of the same material that I did in Berlin before the lockdown, which killed there, and got absolutely nothing here. So clearly I have to write better jokes, but being back in San Francisco was such a trip. I saw some old comics and we hung out, and that was really great. I went back again on Saturday, hung out with a couple of old friends, had a barbecue, and that was awesome. This is going to lead into the theme of what I'm talking about, but they have kids, right? And that changes things. Afterwards, it's still great to see them, but there's a dynamic that changes, right? Like they can't really leave the house, the way we interact. They obviously have to tend to their children as they should as parents. Afterwards, I went and I took a stroll down Haight Street where I used to live. I went to Milk Bar, and that's where I started a comedy night in 2011. And now they're doing like 4 to 5 shows a night, which is awesome. But, as I'm walking around, I walked past my old apartment. I went into the old corner store right by my old apartment, and I walked in, like mask on, and the owner, Sam, who's this older Iraqi guy, he immediately recognized me. And, I haven't been living there since January 2014. So, that made me feel very emotional that, I went in there intentionally to say hi to him, but that he immediately recognized me off the bat with a mask on. So when we caught up, I took a photo with him. I'll post it in the show notes. I don't know if that works, putting a photo in the show notes, but I'll try. But yeah, it made me emotional. I've always, since I was a little kid, been obsessed with the passage of time and kind of the seeming trivial nature of it all. And just like a quick story, when I was, I believe, 7 years old, I was in 3rd grade, and I just started like wailing, staying up crying one night. And my mom came in and she asked what was wrong. And basically I had come to this realization that, I remembered what I did that day. I remembered what I did the day before. I kind of remembered what I did the day before that. But if you went back like 2 weeks, it was like, okay, I have like a vague notion like the bullet points of what happened. But that sense of I remember the experience of being there had left. And at 7 years old, I got sad that I couldn't remember like being 5 very clearly. And it made me wonder, like, what is the point if it all, is lost to the sands of time? And I'm truly like 7 years old, and I'm just doing my best to articulate this to my mom. So she goes up into my closet and pulls down a baby blanket, which I later named BB, and ended up like sleeping with that blanket. And it went from like truly an emotional thing to, and that like an emotional comfort, to like more of like a sentiment. I don't know if there's a distinguishment there, but all the way through, like in high school when I was elected president-elect, like our colors were red and white, and that happened to be the colors of the blanket. So like I wore it as a spirit cape, all the way to when I was living in Berkeley in the co-ops there, and I would have it on my bed, and like girls would see it, and I would just be like, yeah, I just explain it. Like it wasn't really an issue. I ended up there, in the last few years, I actually made my nieces a baby blanket, and I took the patches from what could be salvaged from that original blanket, and I incorporated it into theirs and had it custom made for them, and has their initials in there. Like they're really great blankets. But the point being that like that was emotionally something I've been dealing with from the time I was a young kid, like all the way up until now, all the way up until like I'm still making gifts with that blanket for my nieces, like passing on the the burden of nostalgia to others. But just this experience, being back, living with family for a bit, being back in California, being back in the Bay Area, being back in Berkeley in the co-ops, and then wandering San Francisco the other day, like it really hit me that you can never really go home again, right? Nothing, as soon as you leave a place, things are going to change. And so when you come back, those things aren't going to be the same. And in some place in my mind, it's still January 2014, but so much has changed since then. Friends have changed. The city, San Francisco, has changed. The Bay Area. What was really this like alternative, bring your own weird funk place has been really sterilized, and an emphasis has kind of been put on precaution, if you will, and in some instances for very good reason. But like, just, I don't know, that like funky individualism of San Francisco feels like it has been stripped away. And I think coming back here to the co-ops, which I remember so fondly, like truly a formative time in my life being here, the experiences, the people I met, the perspectives I gained, that like tilted me in a particular positive direction. I guess I was like hoping, probably naively, which sucks to say, that like, so there's the campanile ringing. You hear that? But I was hoping that some of that magic would still be here to be captured. And I mean, like, there's absolutely no dancing around the issue that like I lived here 15 years ago. So I'm obviously much older, and there, when I lived in the co-ops, there were plenty of people. In my first house in Stebbins, there was like, I think the oldest was a 45-year-old. We had a 38-year-old. But it wasn't, I mean, you were aware that they were older, but it was like we're all part of this community. And I think it's just been complex. Moving in late in the semester, the world has changed so much in that time. I don't think it's just an age thing. I think it's that the generation has changed, and like, people communicate differently. In like the digital age and social media and so forth, it's just fundamentally changed how people interact with each other. I was running bleachers like at Memorial Stadium, which is a bitch to do, but I did it. And I stopped by one of the houses I'd been emailing with and asked to talk to the house manager, like mask on, like full far away from like the front door. And so they got the house manager, and I was like, oh, hey, like, we've been emailing. I just wanted to say hi. I'm living in another co-op, and, over the summer, I don't know if things will open up, but just wanted to introduce myself. And like, she was so weirded out, it seemed, by the idea of someone in the same housing system who like we had communicated with a number of times, popping by in person to say hi. It was like, I guess that's just a thing of yesteryear. And like, I don't know, I thought it was going to be a nice gesture, and instead I feel like it weirded this person out, which is not the aim. It's the opposite of what I want to do, It seems like just like, I don't know, people are nervous to have conversations. Everything is so used to being done on your phone. Everyone's bedroom door stays shut, and like that was not the case at all when I lived in the co-ops. It was, you would have your door open, people would be blasting music. That's how you'd get introduced to different, like that's how I learned about Manu Chao and TV on the radio, and like all this it was just like it was a community, and a very open one. So I don't know. I guess I came into this house thinking that I would step into a time machine of sorts, but it's almost the opposite. It's like the bones are there, like the way the house functions, the way, the way it looks, but kind of like San Francisco, like so much of that unabashed craziness and funk and embracing of all these like different perspectives and stuff seems perhaps to have given way to like a more guarded and more judgmental MO. And I think I don't blame that on like individuals. I think that's kind of the way of the world right now. And I do blame social media for a lot of that kind of stuff. There were like several instances from the get-go, like night one, where like people had said like, what the fuck is a 35-year-old doing in here? And like, I can totally make fun of myself, but like, it's not like that's been balanced by a hearty engagement of like, hey, we're gonna go play soccer, come with us, blah 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 blah. So I don't know. That was my exact fear moving in here, as I discussed last week. Like, being someone out of place, making people uncomfortable, and in turn making myself uncomfortable in the house that I'm living in. And it also hits more fundamentally on that existential crisis that I've been having since I was 7. Right? Like, things aren't the same. Time marches on. And it begs the question, what now? Now that the whole world is moving forward, like I'm 35, what am I moving into? What have I done with my life since I was 20? When things really seem to be going well, working out for me, in the front page of the Chronicle Arts section and on KPIX Evening News, and graduating early in my theater company, and professors being like, you're gonna be famous one day. Like, I don't know, like, what have I done since then that would be deemed as quote unquote working out? And like, I've had little blips here and there, but by and large, it feels like I've done nothing that's worked out. There's so much I want to do, more than a single lifetime could fit in. I need like 10 lifetimes. There's a lot I want to do. But it seems like none of that has come to fruition. And that is a terrifying, paralyzing, existential dread, fear of hopelessness inducing thought. So like every day I wonder, I'm confronted since I graduated college with the question of, what did I do or what did I not do to get here? And will things be on the upswing again? I think, yeah. How was your week? I have a choice to move on to Barcelona on May 22nd. I have a ticket. However, it's since come out that non-essential travel is not allowed there, which doesn't mean, like, it appears like that's not actually an option now. I was going to go there and kind of wait out Germany from a closer distance and not be on such a screwy time zone difference. Or I could stick around here for a couple more months, see if things change for me with the dynamic of the house. Or I could move to the grad student co-op if an opening is in fact available. But either way, whether it's looking ahead, the next 2 weeks, the next 2 months, the real fear is, what the hell are things going to look like 2 years ahead? What do I have anchoring me in life, supporting me? The pandemic stimulus and dipping into a nearly no longer there 401k, like that, that's not going to sustain me forever. The nice thing about the pandemic is it felt like we were all doing nothing together. The whole world was on pause and reconsidering their life. Maybe I don't want to have a hour-long commute into work every day. Maybe there's more important things than spreadsheets and sales and all that stuff. But the world being on pause and people reconsidering where their life is at, that felt like something I've been doing since I graduated college. And so it was nice to feel like I was in that all together with them, right? Like I was going through that with other people finally, for once. And I think being back here, just as timing-wise it coincides with the world restarting, is like a major slap in the face as far as where the hell I stand in the world. So, there's so many things I want. I don't know how to achieve them. I feel like I've tried a variety of methods and things to do. And I think weirdly, where you would think like people would be feeling better about the way the world is going right now, it's been like it's shaken me to my core in a way. Feeling left behind, and I want to take all the responsibility in the world for like how I can go about changing that, but I don't know the answer to that because Lord knows I've tried a lot of different ways. I graduated Berkeley in 5 semesters. I was running the theater company in high school. I'm not trying to talk about like, oh, the heyday and the guy who can't, but like, what the fuck changed? Like, why has it been so drastically different now where like I feel like I'm behind? I don't know. But there was an Instagram post that Kasim Bentley, an awesome comic, host of the White Slavery podcast, he shared from another podcaster whose name I can't recall, but a famous guy. And he said, unless you're prepared to do 100 episodes with under 100 listeners each in a row, just stop, because that's the work you got to put in. So I want to keep putting in the work, but it is discouraging, if I'm being honest. Just every creative outlet I've pursued, from writing a book, not being able to get an agent, stand-up comedy, podcasting, all that stuff. I really do hope that like 10 years from now I can be looking back and be like, oh my God, and who knew that the change was just around the corner if I stayed the course. So I hope that that's the case. Search for Eric on the World on YouTube if you want to see video of me saying these things. See that beautiful campanile in the background from the roof of Casa Zimbabwe Co-op. I hope you guys are doing well. Like, I've obviously been focusing on my feelings. I know of course this isn't easy for everybody, and a lot of people are struggling right now. They've been struggling. So, yeah, my heart goes out to you. And I hope that the world functions in a way that we'll all get through this and end up on top, whatever that means to each of us individually, you know? All right. At Eric on the World on Instagram. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening. Until next week, no matter where you are in the world, be well and be loved.
Romance threw itself off the 30th floor.